What's poppin', y'all? I am back with another video today, and today I have a very good story time for you guys. I know you guys read that title. That's why you clicked, and that's why you're here. So hey, first things first, make sure y'all give me a big juicy thumbs up because y'all know the story time's about to be popping, so you can already hit that thumbs up. And if this is the first time that you're seeing me, welcome to the TubieGang. Hit that subscription button down below and join the family. Okay, let's get into this juicy story time. Okay, you guys, so this story time, hold up, my lips are dry, I'll be right back. Okay, sorry guys, I had to spruce up my lips a little because they were feeling hella dry. But this story time is, oh my God, you guys, I feel like my fingertips are cold talking about it because it's one of the worst experiences I've had in my entire life. So basically, when I grew up, I was born in Canada. When I was 9 years old, my mom moved us to North Carolina, and then from North Carolina, after a couple years, we moved to Florida. And Florida is where I was raised. I went to middle school and high school in Florida, and I had my first few jobs in Florida, and I had Jada in Florida. When Jada was 9 months old, at the time I was still with her dad, living with him. We had our own apartment. You know, he had a job. I wasn't working at the time, but before I was pregnant, I was working. I actually worked while I was pregnant. I worked up until like 6 or 7 months while I was pregnant. But anyways, that's not even part of the story. So when Jada was 9 months old, my mom, okay, so when we first moved to Florida, we lived there until my mom and my sisters lived there until I was about 17. When I was 17, my mom and my sisters, basically my family that I lived in the house with, they moved to New Orleans, to Louisiana. And at the time I was dating Jada's dad, and I did not want to leave him. So I had the option basically to stay with him, and I did. So my family left, and I ended up living with Tony. At that time, there was no Jada. So me and him were together for a few years before Jada came about. All this time, I'm away from my family. Then I have Jada. I had Jada without my family being involved or anything. And I love my family. Like my family, my sisters were all so close. So I started yearning for my family and really, really wanted to see my family. So I first went to visit with them when Jada was 4 months old. I brought Jada there because I was like, they need to see my baby in real life. So I brought Jada to Louisiana. They met her. I came back, no problem. Then when Jada was 9 months old, again, yearning for my family because I felt lonely. Like I was just with him and his family. I was home all the time because I wasn't working. I had just had Jada that year. So I was just home all the time and just missing my family, not wanting to always talk to them on the phone. So and when she was 9 months old, I was like, okay, I'm going to go for 2 weeks. I'm skipping so many parts. So the first trip I went to go visit my family, Jada was 4 months old. I went to Louisiana. That's where they were living. After that trip, between 4 months and 9 months of Jada's age, my family moved from Louisiana back to Canada. Okay. So I wanted to go see them in Canada because my grandma has been here since I moved at 9 years old, and my grandma was my whole life. So I was like, if my whole family's there, I need to be there too. Jada needs to see my grandma. Like, I just wanted to be with them now that I knew they had moved to Canada. So I came to visit Canada. When I came to visit Canada, I planned to come for 2 weeks. During this 2 weeks, my main goal was to get my passport so that I could travel back and forth without any issues, because this was my first time coming back to Canada since being 9 years old and moved out of there the first time. So, okay, during that 2 weeks, great time, living it up with the family. Everybody's meeting Jada, and, you know, we're just all back together and everything. And then I'm getting ready to go back home for my trip. I got my passport. So I'm like, okay, I'm about to be going back, no problem. I get to the border, got my stuff packed and everything, and they tell me, I go to get on the plane, and they stop me and they tell me that they want to see me in some room or whatever. So I go to the room. Already my heart is at my damn chest because I'm like, why do I have to go behind here when everybody else is going on the plane? And they had me in this room, with Jada. Okay, I had Jada with me. And basically they were asking me questions about how long I had been out of the country, what I was going back to the US for. And at that time, I didn't know how immigration worked. Nobody told me that, you know, like I'm not supposed to be telling them that I'm going home. Like I live in the US. That's where I live. I was living in the US all of that time, undocumented, basically an illegal alien, not supposed to be living there. I was not a US citizen. So I'm a Canadian citizen. So, and I had just got my passport, my Canadian passport, to go back to the US. That's not my home. So in their eyes, they were like, okay, what do you mean that's your home? And I was like, I went to school there. That's my home. Like, that's where I live. Like, I just came here to visit family. Like, I need to go home. My daughter's father is there. Like, that's her dad lives there. And that point of Jada's dad being there, I thought would get me home, because like, she can't be without her dad, and that's where he lives. I literally had no idea how immigration worked. So, okay, so I don't get on the flight that day. They tell me that I have to establish some type of life. I have to have proof of established life in Canada. Basically, that I live in a house, like that I've been paying rent for a long time, or that I'm in school here, or something, like, you know, that I have a job here. Like, I literally had nothing to prove, nothing. I didn't have an address. I didn't have mail, nothing. So I had to basically prove that I was living here. And then I was scared to try to go back direct, like maybe the next week or anything, because I already knew I was there. So I wasn't sure if they had like made notes on my passport on their system, basically saying that, you know, she doesn't have established life. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to stay for another month, and I'm going to try to like figure out how I can establish life. Maybe I'll just enroll in school or something like that. So I forget what I ended up doing to fake that I established. I think I just got mail come to the house. I had a couple pieces of mail. I didn't really have much that proved that I established life. And that next month I tried to go back again. This time I thought that I was really going to be able to go home. The last time I didn't like the experience, the first time, sorry, of trying to go back with Jada alone with all the luggage, because we shopped so much during the trip, and I felt overwhelmed. So I was trying to ship my stuff back home before I got there. So I already had all my stuff in boxes ready to go. My mom was going to ship it once I got on the plane and all that stuff. And again, I got stopped. And they told me the paperwork that I had was nothing. Basically, having a couple pieces of mail with your address, the Canadian address, is nothing. That doesn't establish life. So heartbroken again. I couldn't go back home again. So yeah, home. That was my home. US was my home. So the third try was the try that got me banned from the US. Okay, I got banned from the US for 5 years, you guys. And this is a true story. I'm not even lying. I could write a book about my life, because the amount of freaking stories. This is true. So the third time, I was like, I don't care. I want to go home. I started getting desperate. So the next week I was like, I didn't even unpack none of my stuff. The next week I was like, my family and them seen how stressed I was, how depressed I was about wanting to go home. My man was in the US waiting on me. Her dad was there. Like, I just wanted to go back to my life.
All this time you were gay.
She said all this time I was gay. Okay, anyways. So stupid. Anyways, so I started getting desperate. So I was like, I'm not waiting long this time. The next week, I was like, my mom had told me that one of her friends was going to drive across the border. So I was like, planes are out. They're probably deeper at the border over there. And my mom and them were like, oh, they know people from back in the day who used to smuggle people in, and getting across the border, driving is a lot easier. So she had a few friends that were going to be driving across the border, going to New York, or Buffalo, whatever, which is going into New York, and that I should just get in the car with them and kind of like just, you know, get across with them. Since I don't have all my luggage, it doesn't look like I'm really traveling. I'm just trying to see the border. You know, I'm just trying to see across the border what's over there. So that was the plan. Okay, you guys. So I'm hyped. I'm like, I'm going home. I'm like, this is gonna work. This is the third try. Third try is the prize. I'm going home. We've never tried this way. All of them were like, this is gonna work. You know, we were all positive and hype about it. And So we go, and then on the way there, because it's like a 4-hour drive to get up all the way to the border or whatever. So we get over there, and during the ride, they're like, you know what? It's even better if you get out before we get to the border and you try to walk across the border instead of us driving with you and them like going through all of us, and it will be a deeper process instead of you just pushing your stroller with no luggage. You just look like you want to go across the border, walk across and go see what's over there. And if you have your information, usually that's not a problem. So I get out with my little 9-month-old baby. Okay. Jada was probably a good 10 or 11 months at this point, because she started walking when we visited for that trip. So she was probably a good 11 months. Hold on. Sorry. Somebody came to my door. Okay. She was a good 11 months or so, because we had been there for a couple months. Yeah. Trying to figure this all out or whatever. And so yeah, I took her out, got the stroller out the trunk, you know, and they were giving me the instructions. That's where you go, just walk through that building. Because basically at the border, there's like a huge, like across the whole border, there's like it's like a facility basically. And that's where all the border patrol and all that stuff, and they're in there. And before you even go past that building, you have to deal with them. You have to show them all your paperwork and all that stuff because you're going into the US, right? So I got my paperwork in my little bag, you know, and I'm just trying to look like a tourist, which, I mean, I look like a tourist because I don't have any luggage. So it looks like I may be staying at the hotels near the border, and I just wanted to walk across because it's really close and it's simple, and there's so much right across the border. You can see it. So I get in there, give them my paperwork. The whole time my heart is beating, but I'm positive. I'm like, this is going to work. I'm going to finally tell them that I made it across the border. I'm going to call them and tell them that I made it across the border. You guys, I'm really feeling it right now. My fingers are so cold. So, first of all, the guy runs my passport or whatever. Then he says something to the lady. So they start talking in private or whatever. My head is already going crazy. Like, oh my God, there was a note on my passport. Oh my God, or whatever. And he asked me what my reason was. I was like, oh, I'm just, you know, going to look across and see what is over there. I'm just walking. I'm going to come right back tonight. Like, I'm not even staying anywhere over there. I don't have a hotel or anything on the other side. I'm literally just going to walk and come back. I don't have luggage or anything, as you can see. So he points to the lady to take Jada, because I was holding Jada in my hand at this point. I took her out of the stroller and I was holding her while I'm talking to them about everything at the desk. He points at the lady and tells her, please take the child. I thought I was getting arrested, you guys. I was like, take her. Why do you have to take my baby? Why do you have to take my baby? Like, they took her. And he was like, don't worry. She's going to be right here with your daughter, but we need to speak to you without you holding the baby. And I just was freaking out at the fact that they were taking the baby. And I kept asking them, are they going to arrest me? Am I in trouble? What did I do wrong? I'll just go back. Like, and he basically let me know that there was a flag on my passport, and that I've attempted numerous times to go back after they told me that I have to establish life. I can't just freaking travel there. I've been living there illegally, and I'm of their country. Like, keep your ass where you from. So yeah, he basically told me that if I had attempted again, I would be arrested, and that now I was officially banned from the US for the next 5 years, and that would give me enough time to establish life. Clearly, what would I do? You think I'm gonna keep my bags packed for 5 years? Clearly, I was stuck. I broke down crying so hard, and then I remember that same night was one of the most horrible nights of my entire life, because that happened so late at night. They waited for me to tell them that I made it across the border. They didn't cross the border yet. So they basically parked somewhere waiting for me to call them and tell them that I had already made it so they could drive across. So when I came back out to them, looking like a wet dog, crying, broken, they took me to, because they were basically really traveling across. So they weren't trying to drive me all the way back home 4 hours. So they took me to a train station that I could get to a train station closer to where I lived. So that train station was safe, and it did take me to basically to like downtown Toronto. And then by the time I got to downtown Toronto, it was like 1 a.m. or something. And mind you, I have Jada. I have at least 2 or 3 bags. It wasn't anything crazy like big luggage. So I was still stressed because I had a freaking 9-month-old, 10-month-old, 11-month-old baby with me in a stroller who didn't care, was freezing outside, who didn't care about staying in her jacket, was trying to take off her jacket the whole damn time. who was wet. I couldn't change her. At 1 a.m., I got to the downtown train station or whatever, but a Greyhound place, and had to call a family member to come and pick me up. And the place that they lived from there was about 45 minutes to an hour, you guys. During that trip and everything that went on, I had to pee. And there was nowhere to pee because at 1 a.m. everything was closed. Like literally the whole bus station was dark. It was scary out there. And I had to pee, and I ended up having to pee, like sitting in front of Jada's stroller, just pulled my pants to the side, and I peed right there in public because I was about to pee myself all the time, all this whole time while I was in the subway, from the time that they told me no, while I was being driven to that first subway to the second subway. I cried, okay? When I say I cried, the ugly cried too, because I was alone. Of course, it was late at night. I was alone. It was just me and Jada. Jada was so happy. I remember that so deeply. Jada was so happy because she didn't know what the fuck was going on. She didn't know nothing. She was just happy, and it was just pissing me off. She was so happy. And I was so broken, you guys. I was so broken because I wanted to go home. I wanted to freaking go home. So I got in the car, and then the next thing that happened, so the family member that came to pick me up came with somebody in their car who they were just like trying to date, getting to know or something. I guess they were hanging out that night, and then I called. So she was already with him. So she was like, okay, I'm just going to bring him with me. Not knowing my state, even though she should have known my state, because when I called her, I was crying. I was like, can you pick me up? I'm at the station. It's dark. Crying. She came with this guy. I was irritated as fuck because I'm in this zone of like stress. But at the same time, like I can't really be that mad because she wasn't expecting to have to pick me up. Like, that's my business, right? So the whole ride, she's asking me all the questions of what happened. So I'm having to talk while I'm crying, and I can't stop the crying because I'm so devastated at the fact that I have to go back to my mom's house, which when I came to visit, I was actually taking over one of my sister's rooms. There was really not a lot of room for me to really stay. So it was like, it was comfortable while I knew I was going to be able to go home, but knowing that I would have to live here, like, and try to figure out what I'm gonna do, it was so devastating because my whole life was basically just done. Like, in my opinion, that's how I felt. Like, I just felt like I was losing everything in that moment. I no longer had a man. I no longer had my daughter's father. I no longer had my house, my comfort, all the things that I had in my home. Even up to this day, I've lost so many pictures and things that I can't even really remember a lot of things that I lost, but I know I lost a lot, okay? Because I had to leave it all there, and a lot of it wasn't able to be shipped to me. So it was just a lot. Imagine like trying to ship your whole house to you in another country. Like, so basically I lost a lot. And when I got home, and my mom already knew I was on the way. She had heard me crying, and she felt so bad. My mom was standing in the hallway crying, and it was because she heard me crying. I know my mom was happy to have me there, and probably was happy that, low key, that I get to stay kind of. But even then, I'm sure she wouldn't have been that happy because she didn't have that much space. Where the hell I'm gonna be at? Like, I have a little kid with me and all her stuff and my stuff, and like I'm grown, like I need my space, like, and I'm infiltrating on my sister's space. So I felt guilty. I felt so many different things. Like, it was just crazy. And then yeah, I basically had to like start my life here, and then I was in a long distance relationship with her dad for a while until that fizzled out, because obviously, like, how is that gonna work, So, yeah, like, that's why, and I'm still up in Canada. I'm still here. I was meant to be here, though. At the end of this whole story, to be honest, that journey brought me to the life that I was supposed to live. Because I don't feel like, first of all, I don't feel like me and Jada's father, if I'm being really honest, I don't feel like we would have lasted. We were young. He was my first love. I was with him from the time that I was 16 until I came to Canada when Jada was 9 months old. So I was probably like 20, 21 max. And I was with him from then till then. I grew so much and I matured so much, and I didn't even realize who I really was, until I was in Canada and was able to be like on my own and figure out what I need and how I have to figure it out. It was just crazy. It was just really crazy. But I know that for sure that whole journey definitely brought me to where I am today, because I would not have Ocean. I would not have life. I wouldn't know who I am. Like, I wouldn't know who I really am. Like, I needed that. I needed that to happen. I didn't need it to happen so freaking devastating and all that stuff. It could have just been a different way. But I'm not mad that it happened, because aside from my growth and knowing that I wouldn't have been with him forever and like we wouldn't have lasted that much longer, I might have had like 10 other kids that I couldn't take care of by myself if I was still with him too. Because we were young love. Yeah, I just feel like it really brought me to my life today, because my grandma is also here in Canada and she's the love of my life. Like, I love my grandma so much, and I'm just glad that in the later years of her life, I'm able to be around her. And if I was in Florida, I know I wouldn't be able to travel as often and stuff like that. And I'm just grateful because most of my family now is in Canada, and I was able to raise Jada around my family, which I'm so grateful for. Her dad's family is great. Like, they're amazing people. They're so loving and so sweet, and she probably would have been great around them too. But I know my family, and I'm just really great. I'm really grateful the way that things worked out. I feel like the situation of my life has made me so well-rounded. I've dealt with so many different things. But that event was probably the biggest and most devastating events of my life. Yeah. It's so crazy though. Comment below what you guys think about my story time. This one was a little long. I hope you guys stayed till this point. If you had made it to this point, hashtag TubieGangs down in the comments. Show me some love. If you enjoyed the story time, make sure you give me a big juicy thumbs up, and make sure you all like, subscribe, share, comment everything in this video. Until the next video, deuces, peace, bye.